Welcome back, everyone. It is so great to have you here for another deep dive on the Explainer. Usually, we're breaking down the latest data or untangling some complex science. But today, today we're doing something a little bit different. I want you to sit back, maybe turn the lights down just a little bit, and lean in close. We're going to explore a dark, twisted campfire tale by Ashanti Amor called The Shadow in the Yard. We're going to unpack the anatomy of a terrifying secret, and step by step, we'll walk through one of the most chilling reveals you can possibly imagine. So, what is the true cost of a perfect family? We see these flawless, incredibly wealthy families on social media or just walking down the street, and we never really stop to think about what's actually funding that luxury. Like, what compromises are being made? In the story we're examining today, that cost is literally unimaginable. We're going to look at the gruesome secrets hiding just behind the closed, heavy doors of a beautiful home. Let's pull back the curtain. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, The Perfect Malibu Family. To really grasp the horror of this story, we first have to understand this seemingly normal, incredibly luxurious world our main characters live in. They live in Malibu, California. The sun's shining, the ocean's right there, and the wealth is just staggering. But we have to look at the bizarre contrast right at the center of their Malibu mansion. On one side, we've got Mary. She's 31, 6 feet tall with silky, straight blonde hair, and she absolutely loves luxury. She's walking around her home in high heels and a black dress with side splits. She's the picture of high society elegance. But then we have her husband, Jalen. Now, Jalen is 40 years old, standing an imposing 6 feet 9 inches tall. He is a countryman through and through, raised on a Mississippi family farm. Picture this. He's wearing combat boots, a camo t-shirt, and a bucket fishing hat. In Malibu. He's a simple guy who couldn't care less about superficial luxuries. They are completely night and day. But together, they have a daughter. And here is where the picture gets kind of complicated. Their 10-year-old daughter, Laura, is a spoiled, misbehaving delinquent. She's got this huge, puffy afro, ripped blue jean shorts, and this is a super crucial detail to remember for later. She wears a pair of blue and black Nike basketball shoes. Why? Because she genuinely believes they give her superpowers. She's mischievous, she pranks her dad relentlessly, and she has this incredibly wicked smile. She's basically the chaotic center of this strange Malibu household, a household that's kept afloat by a very, very particular business. Section 2, a very lucrative secret. Now, Malibu is not cheap. High heels and a life of total luxury requires serious capital. So how do they actually afford all this? Well, the public narrative is that Mary is an incredibly famous 5-star caterer. She hosts the absolute best parties in town. And she claims her success comes from 2 things: taking Jalen's old Mississippi family recipes and using her own special seasonings. She tells all her wealthy clients that she travels across the entire country just to source these rare, exotic spices. But here's the catch. She keeps these ingredients strictly padlocked inside her basement pantry. Not even her husband Jalen is allowed inside. He doesn't even know what's in there. It's a complete mystery, totally off limits, until one night, when the carefully constructed lie begins to crack. Section 3, The Midnight Text Messages. I really want you to picture this scene. It's the dead of night in this quiet, sprawling Malibu mansion. The only sound is the distant ocean. And then, a sudden, jarring vibration. A cell phone screen lighting up in the pitch black. I know what you're putting in your food. Imagine the icy terror that would just spike through her veins. Mary knows exactly what is locked in her pantry. And suddenly, the horrifying realization hits her. Someone else knows too. Everything she's built, her entire wealthy existence, is suddenly teetering on the edge of total ruin. And then, the second message arrives. I know what you're really feeding people. The dread is really mounting now. In a state of absolute panic, Mary starts frantically trying to figure out if this is just some sick prank. She checks her mischievous daughter Laura's phone. Nothing. She grabs Jalen's phone while he's lying right next to her in bed, searching through his simple dog games. Again, nothing. It isn't them. The threat is coming from outside the house. Someone out there in the dark knows her horrifying secret. Finally, the screen lights up with an ultimate, chilling ultimatum. I will be waiting for you in your backyard at 3 a.m., and you better get out here or I will expose your dirty little secrets. There is no way out for Mary. She's terrified of going to jail for her crimes. The trap is set. She has no choice but to go out into the dark. Let's move to And see how this builds? Section 4, the shadow in the yard. We're stepping out of the luxurious, safe mansion and moving into the cold, moonlit Malibu backyard. The tension is at its absolute peak right now. The first texts shattered her peace late in the evening. She stews in terror for hours. Then, at exactly 3 a.m., Mary slips out of bed, leaving Jalen asleep, and creeps out into the backyard toward an old oak tree. She sees a tall shadow person standing completely still in the dark. It's just beckoning her forward. The confrontation is about to begin, but the backyard itself reacts first. The animals actually sense the evil first. Charcoal, Jalen's outside Labrador, is straining against his chain, barking wildly, teeth bared. Inside the house, Laura's fat, white cat, Pearl, runs outside and starts making a horrific, human-like screaming sound, trying to warn Mary away. All this noise wakes up the giant Jalen and 10-year-old Laura, who run outside to see what's happening. And just as Jalen demands to know what is going on, the shadow steps into the bright moonlight. It isn't a ghost, it's a person, covered head to toe in a tight black bodysuit, wearing a black mask, holding a glowing cell phone in one hand and a heavy metal crowbar in the other. And then the masked intruder speaks, their voice all muffled. "The game is over, Mary. I followed you into the basement pantry last week. The secret is out. Jalen is massive, 6'9", standing right there in his combat boots, completely confused, asking his wife what on earth this person is talking about. But the intruder doesn't attack Mary. Instead, with terrifying speed, the figure sprints right past Jalen's giant frame. They don't want to hurt Mary in the yard. They want to show her family the truth. They sprint straight through the back door, heading directly for the kitchen. Section 5. The Pantry's Dark Truth. The chase is on. Mary is shrieking, stumbling in her high heels. Jalen and Laura are running right behind her. We're heading into the kitchen, toward that heavy, padlocked basement pantry door. As they burst into the kitchen, it's too late. The intruder swings the heavy crowbar and smashes the padlock clean off the door. The heavy door swings wide open, and instantly a horrific, sweet, metallic smell spills out into the expensive kitchen. The intruder flips on the light and rips off their mask. It isn't a stranger. It's Mrs. Gable, one of Mary's wealthiest catering clients, and she's pointing the crowbar into the pantry, screaming at Jalen to look at what his perfect wife has been feeding the neighborhood. Jalen and Laura stare into the room. There are no spices from Mississippi in there. Instead, rows of large glass jars filled with strange, bubbling, glowing liquids. Hanging from the ceiling hooks, local missing person flyers. And written on these flyers, in Mary's own handwriting, are notes about flavor profiles and tenderness. And sitting right there on the floor is a massive silver meat grinder, completely stained with dried, dark red blood. Mary's secret seasoning wasn't a spice. She was murdering the people who crossed her, grinding them up, and feeding them to Malibu's elite just to maintain her lavish lifestyle. She collapses to the floor, sobbing, confessing to Jalen that she did it to keep them rich. Section 6. The Making of a Monster. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is Jalen is horrified. He's backing away from his wife like she's a literal demon. Mrs. Gable's terrified. Mary is sobbing on the tile floor. But there's one more person in that kitchen. In all of this screaming and crying, a tiny sound breaks the silence. A little snicker. The heir apparent, the person poised to inherit this gruesome family business. Everyone slowly turns to look at 10-year-old Laura. She isn't crying. She isn't hiding behind her massive father. She is just staring dead-eyed at the bloody meat grinder. Her blue and black Nikes, the ones she actually thinks give her superpowers, click against the blood-stained tile. She takes a step forward toward the pantry. And that famous, wicked smile of hers begins to spread slowly across her face. She isn't repulsed by the evil. She's captivated by it. Her eyes are wide and glittering in the harsh pantry light. And then she looks right at the woman who just exposed them and says, "Wow, Mom, can you teach me how to make the secret seasoning tomorrow? I think Mrs. Gable would make a great Sunday dinner." She views her not as a threat, but as ingredients. As she says this, outside in the cold Malibu night, Charcoal the dog tilts his head back and begins to howl at the moon. The cycle of evil isn't ending with Mary's exposure, it's just being passed down to the next generation. Which leaves us with one final thought today. What truly makes a monster? Is it the environment that hides the evil, or the child who learns to smile at it? Mary built the pantry, but Laura is the one asking for the recipe. It's a deeply unsettling question about nature, nurture, and the darkness that can take root in the absolute most unexpected places. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer on the shadow in the yard. Keep questioning what you see, and I will see you next time.